Hello and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 23rd of December 2024. It's almost Christmas, folks. Oh my word, it's Gary here again. And you know what, I'm going to start off with a wee bit of a positive because I think we had a very, very positive weekend there. And just to say, I don't know, maybe that's the best thing to say because things took a bit of a turn, didn't they? I was saying to some folks, I know Philippe Clement kind of rubbished this theory. He says we just concentrate on ourselves and we don't care about what's happening elsewhere. But ultimately, if you're in a competition, you need to look at your closest rivals that you're trying to catch and then catch them and then move on from there. I think I was saying that last week or maybe the week before or something like that. And I was saying to folks in the club on Saturday there that, our first task was to catch Aberdeen. And Aberdeen being Aberdeen, they have the true colours. Their purple patch is well and truly gone, and we did that kind of in record time. Actually, it wasn't so long ago. We were 9 points behind. Now we're a point ahead with a game in hand. So that's great stuff. And then the next thing would be to try and get it to single digits at the top of the table. 11 points, insurmountable. I'm not going to go back on what I said a couple of weeks back and saying the league is finished, but it's good to just make it a competition. So then we get it to single digits at the top of the table, and we do both of those things in the same weekend. So now we're in that situation that we were kind of almost in, what was that, after the international break there, a wee bit earlier in the season, where we had an opportunity to bring it down to like 3 or 4 points, something like that, and then we got beat by Kilmarnock and just diarrheaed all over ourselves. We have an opportunity here to concentrate really, really hard on the next 2 difficult away games, St Mirren and Motherwell, get the maximum points by hook or by crook, and put us in a position to essentially just add a wee seed of doubt. Plant a wee seed of doubt in their heads, and if we get a chance to do that and get to 6 points, and it's an if, we don't know, of course, then there's no reason, based on our upturning fortunes and form recently and the way that we performed in the League Cup final, to think that we can't overturn them at Ibrox and put the ball in our court again. And I really hope that the fans show up big time and really put on the most intimidating of shows against them because of all their stupidity and basically lies that they had told earlier in the season, which was their rationale for not getting fans into Sharkhead. We can do the same and we can really make that count to our advantage and put it over. And then at that point, what is it, 6 points then? And you're kind of like, well, wait a wee minute. And I was also saying to some of the boys yesterday that I would much rather have our very, very difficult challenging part of the season early doors. Now, I know that doesn't make... It doesn't make for a good atmosphere. It doesn't make for any optimism or reverence for who we are, what we're doing, and the way that we're doing it. But what it does is it gets all the guff out the way at the beginning of the season. It gives us an opportunity to write that, and then we've still got enough runway after that to do something about it. So definitely glass half full for always, but for this week and this month in general. And I think that we have an opportunity here to do something. I have said to other people, a version of that, and they've went, come on, Gary, come on. Hey, you never know. I would say the pressure, I would much rather be in our position chasing with momentum than being there with it all to lose. And I say that probably because we're here right now, and maybe I'd much rather have the points in the bag. But I guess we see what we're going to see here. And I think another wee interesting thing that Clement had said was along the lines of, this is not his exact words, but you find out more about a team when they're losing and when they're underperforming rather than when they're winning. Or maybe it was a pundit that said that, I can't actually remember now, but it was something noteworthy for me to kind of think about and say, right, you know what, I actually subscribe to that. When the chips are down, that's when you start to find out more about people. But everybody collectively experienced that at the exact same time, and there is absolute value and benefit of that to say you don't want a repeat of that game, you don't want a repeat of that performance, you don't want a repeat of that mistake or whatever it looks like, and you've all got this shared collective understanding, shared collective experience to then say, we are actually growing together. We can see and feel that we're growing together. And we'll be glowing if we win this bloody league after being so far behind. But it's one of these things, and I think that we're starting to now find out more things as we start to enter into this period of the team playing well and getting the results that we're hoping that they get as well. So I think it's great to start with that. I wasn't intending to start with that, but the weekend turned out to be a wee bit more fruitful for Rangers Football Club than probably most of us were thinking. You know, I had a wee hope, obviously, that Dundee United were going to do something yesterday, but you can never tell with that mob, and it worked out the way that, you know, it could have been better, obviously, if they'd have got beat. But we're now in a better position than we were on Friday. Better. That's probably the best way to say it. Now I need to go in a wee bit of a negative part here, because last week I did talk in the immediate aftermath about my disappointment at the refereeing and the VAR and the decision and stuff, and then I've had a chance to process it now, and you know, and see the replays again. I didn't need to see the replays to have my opinion in any way changed or formed or anything like that, because I knew that it was just a blatantly poor, very, very poor call. But, you know, having it the light of day to fully process it, to see it again, have everyone, apart from that mob from the East End, admitting that it was an absolute howler of a mistake, having then heard Willie Collum basically just savage his VARs when he did his monthly overview of what it looks like, and then having heard, this is the damning part for me, the audio of it, I'm now very, very much of the opinion, and last week I kind of maybe wasn't quite so much, but I'm very, very much of the opinion that it was either gross incompetence or blatant bias against Rangers Football Club, which essentially is what I'm saying is cheating at that particular time, and either of those should be a sacking, a firing offence, because they literally changed history with that decision. Because the way we were playing, the way Tav was playing, there's no chance Tav misses that penalty. I think, I will never know, obviously, but there's no chance he misses it. And then what's actually happened is that they now have another League Cup on their list of achievements and we don't, and that's not good enough. It's nowhere near good enough. And in any other industry in the world, when you have mistakes are these things that happen, you know, but when you have a cataclysmic mistake, when you have an absolute howler that is genuinely meaningful and tarnishes the reputation of the industry, of the business that you're working in, you pay with your job. And actually, in some occasions, you're paying with some criminal proceedings and such like that. I'm not saying these guys should be put under any criminal investigation, but imagine that was the other way around. And I tell you, I was saying to my friends and family last week, I would be really uncomfortable being in their position. I would probably have laughed it off a wee bit in the beginning, saying, well, the cup's ours and that's it. I wouldn't feel good about winning the cup under those circumstances, knowing that there was an absolute howler of a mistake or cheating episode that's finally been aired here. I would feel uncomfortable. I think I would be of the ilk to say, why don't we replay the game? And then we'll just, you know, may the best team win, and then we'll hopefully get another spectacle like we got, and then the actual best team will come out as the victors. I don't think it's surmountable for these guys, and I think these guys are not fit for their roles, and they're a hindrance to everything that we're trying to do as Rangers and Scottish football is trying to do. And I think that I don't see how they can come back from that. That's a literal history changer, and it's utterly garbage. And I was kind of hoping our new CEO was going to say something similar to that, but he's in a different spot. I'll talk about that in a wee while here. So yeah, I'm fully in these guys should be fired and an example made of them camp. Anyway, game segment on to Saturdays. Just the one game, of course, this last week. 1-0 home the victory against Dundee, with the winning goal coming just after half time from Czerny, and it was a brilliant goal in terms of keeping himself just onside and then taking it around the goal and making the finish. And I know it was only 1-0, but I thought we absolutely scudded them. I really did, and we just didn't. Or I probably couldn't. I guess is probably a better word to use. We just couldn't put them away. We, hit the bar 4 times, completely dominated the game. They didn't have any meaningful chances. And the good thing for me, and this maybe could come under the positives part, was we kept trying the entire game from beginning to end. And I thought it was just one of those days that we got really, really unlucky with that final telling pass. That pass is going to, the key pass is going to unlock the defence and give us a really good opportunity to score. Dundee seemed to stop that every single time, didn't they? Just that one pass, and they would just put a toe out and just get it blocked, or they would just guess right, anticipate where the pass is going and kind of be able to get in the way of it. And you don't see that very often. You see that now and again in a game, but that was the feeling I had through the entire game. Honestly, through the game, I wasn't worried at all. about not scoring anymore, because I just thought we were so dominant in the entire game. We defended well, and we never really gave them any opportunity. They'd one kind of powder puff shot and goal, and that was basically it. A wee bit boring, the game, nothing that we're kind of jumping up and down about, but we'll take it. It's a clean sheet, it's a victory, and as it turns out, it took us 2 points closer at the very top of the table, which is exactly what we're kind of hoping for. The positives, I thought the entire performance was solid, despite us not quite hitting the heights that we have in the previous weeks. There was still the endeavour, there was still the possession, there was still the stats, the numbers, the chances created, and everybody trying. As I said, I thought the goal was finished very well, as I mentioned, and it's good to see Liam Kelly's debut with a clean sheet. It was quite interesting actually just to hear today. I was listening to Heart and Hand this morning, and it was revealed. I guess he did it in the post-match press conference as well, but I didn't pay much attention to that. It was his debut for Rangers, despite having been there for about 20 years off and on. So good to get a debut there, and then obviously get the clean sheet. That's the main thing. And I think in probably with the benefit of hindsight, it was always going to be a wee bit of a lull after the highs and the dramas of the League Cup final, and Dundee did what they did to try and stifle the game and such, and we did what we had to do. The negatives, I think the only one would really be not scoring more goals, and I just don't think it was like for a lack of poor finishing or very poor decision making or anything. It was just a wee bit stuffy, a little bit, just one of those days where the ball wasn't exactly breaking for us, and with the 4 bars that we hit, I think one of them was on top, and then the rest of them were pretty an inch or two of a difference from really racking up the scoreline there. So not putting them to the sword, wee bit of a shame, but they'll know that they got it doing as well, I would imagine. In terms of the stats, and this is just because Dundee had some possession towards the end of the game, because we were in the 80s, the low 80s for the majority of the game, but 73% possession, 14 shots on goal with 4 on target. So I guess we don't actually get a shot on target if it's not able to go in the goal. So the 4 that they hit the bar is not that 4, versus Dundee's 5 shots on goal, 1 on target, and as I say, it was kind of powder puff. On the referee watch, I think it was Alan Muir. I think he did well. I thought he kept up with the game. VAR did what they're supposed to do, and there was nothing too crazy about what had to happen in terms of refereeing the game. So he would just get the standard 7 out of 10. 2 games this week, 2 games before we formally wrap up 2024. The first one is this coming Thursday, that's Boxing Day, and that's away to St Mirren in the most beautiful town in the world, actually. And that's actually a very pleasant kick-off time for us. It's 12:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a 5:45 UK kick-off time, so that's great for us here, because in Calgary that's 10:45 a.m. and the pub is going to be open for us, so we'll get a chance. I don't have to serve the beers, someone will serve them to me. That's great. And you know what, this game now, based on what I said just at the top of the show today, this game has a whole new significance for me, and especially now that we have an opportunity. Obviously, if we've got 2 away games, then they've got 2 home games, so you imagine they're going to win them, so we just need to get the 3 points by hook or by crook and see how it goes. And here I'm going to kind of correct myself. It's not what Gaz got wrong last week, but I did say last week that we had kind of 3 uninspiring games to come, and what I really meant was there was nothing really exciting. I mean, who says I can't wait for the Dundee game, or I can't wait for the St Mirren game, or I can't wait for the Motherwell game? Nobody really. So I wasn't saying that they weren't very important, or they're not significant, and as I mentioned, there's just a lot more significance attached to them now, so I'm kind of changing my mind a wee bit. I'm really, really looking forward to this one on Thursday, and hopefully we can do what we need to do, and the later kick-off time will give us a wee bit of a chance to recover from the Turkey exploits of Christmas Day, 24 hours before that. Our second game is on Sunday, the 29th of December, and we finish up 2024 away at Motherwell, and that's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, kick-off 3 p.m. in the UK. I imagine this one's going to be another tough one. Motherwell are actually having quite a competent season here, so I just hope, honestly, I mentioned earlier that we had that little glimmer, that little window where Aberdeen and that mob from the East End had a slip up and we had an opportunity to close the gap, and we didn't. And I just hope that the mentality and the talent and the skills in this team don't make this week like that. and we do what we need to do. We get ahead of Aberdeen, we get closer to that mob from the east, and then we just blow it again. Please don't give us a glimmer of hope and then take it away from us, Rangers. In terms of shout-outs, I would like to do a shout-out to Super Jack Butland on the birth of his daughter on Saturday. Kind of poor timing, if you don't mind me saying, Mrs. Butland, but I guess, well, you know, whatever. That's up to you and how that goes. But you know, there was rumour that he had injured himself in the warm up, but then it became quite fairly well known during the game that it was his wife had actually went into labour, and then it wasn't too long after the end of the game, so he kind of technically could have made the game, to be honest. But whatever. That his daughter was born, and he had a lovely photograph with his Rangers training gear on, holding his daughter, and that will be the first photo, and that's very poignant as well. It obviously gave Liam Kelly the opportunity to step in, get some game time, and it gave us an opportunity to give him what he needs for his family, which is very important, and also to see what it's like when he's not there. And I didn't have the same confidence, I have to say, but great for Liam Kelly to do what he did. The second one, and I'm going to say this one with a bit of a caution, because I'm not sure if I'm getting the piss taken out of me, but my understanding is that a good pal of NARSA, Matthew McDonald, who's back home in Glasgow, has gotten engaged to his now fiancée Emma. And I got another name this morning, and I'm not 100% sure. I'm not on social media that much, so I don't follow that much. But I did get what looked like an Instagram. I think it was Instagram, and the hand is there with a little ring on it and stuff like that, and it looks like that's a bona fide thing. So if it is, let's just assume that it is. Matthew, congratulations. Emma, congratulations. Welcome to the family, so to speak. And I hope that, I'm assuming that I'll be getting a call for being the best man here at some point shortly, and I'll decide whether I'm going to pick that call up or not. But you're always welcome to ask anyway. Matthew, congratulations. And that's a bit of good news to spread on the back of Super Jack Butland's daughter. Just a quick reminder, in Orange County Football Club or Orange County Soccer Club are doing their fan ownership in the UK. I'll leave that link in the show notes for this, and see if that's something you might be interested in. As I mentioned last week, it might be a last minute gift for someone where you're like, I really don't know what to get them. Actually, you own a part of a football club in America now that has orange in it. That's a great gift for a Rangers fan anywhere. And I also did get a request from a friend of NARSA, Dennis Beck, who asked if we could do a wee shout out for the Melbourne City Loyal Rangers Supporters Club, and I'll just read it out here. He said, "Hi mate, looking for a wee favour if possible. Melbourne City Loyal are having a culture weekend with players in attendance. It's November next year, so November 2025. Ian Ferguson, Gary Stevens and Stuart Monroe are all going. We are having a boat cruise with Rangers songs being sung by a guest from Scotland, and Saturday is a gala dinner. Could you give it a wee plug on your NARSA page in case anyone fancies it?" So I'm going to do one better than that, and you're going to get a plug on the NARSA weekly update, and I'll keep that on here actually each week as well. That, I know some folks like to consider going further afield and such, but if you've got a choice between NARSA 2025 and the Melbourne City Loyal boat cruise and gala dinner, pick NARSA 2025 please. I'm very biased, but I think that's going to be an incredible occasion. And here's a wee bit of a surprise. The women's team have just, what would you say, Man-City'd this last two games. Another 3-0 defeat at home against Hibs. I thought the defeat at Glasgow City was a bit of an anomaly, just kind of weird. They very, very rarely get beaten, and certainly very rarely get beaten so comprehensively, and then they got beat at home by Hibs 3-0, same scoreline, and they're now 5 points behind Glasgow City, and if that other mob win their two games in hand, they'll be behind them as well. After the Old Firm victory there a couple of weeks back, they've just had an absolutely torrid time, and now they're in the winter break, I believe, so they don't even have a game to be able to make good on their performances and results either. So that's a worry. I wonder what's going on there. I'm not sure if it's injury related or very bad luck or whatever, but 2-3-0 reverses in that league that's so tight it's just not good enough, and that's an awful couple of results there for the women's team. So hopefully the break will give them an opportunity to get a little bit of rest, recuperation, which is recuperation and recovery in the same word. I was trying to get through that word a bit quicker than than normal. Oh my God, Gary. Anyway, and then just that final shout out for the Narco Curry weekend, and that's Valentine's weekend, Thursday the 13th to Sunday the 16th. Scott's Corner Pub, brewery tour, ice hockey game, Hearts game, at some point that weekend as well. We'll find out a bit more about the fixtures a bit closer to the time. If you need anything or any information on that, Narco 2025 at outlook.com, and Andy will get you what you need from there. Convention update, it's 170 days and 24 weeks until we do what we're going to do down in Kissimmee in Osceola County in Florida. That is, of course, June the 12th to the 15th at Omni at Champions Gate. And we are still continuing our endeavour. Rangers are still helping us with advertising back home, and we're going to really do a big push here, for certainly for the remainder of December, but mostly for January and early February. And we need the tickets to be sold, folks. It's the tickets are not selling as we had hoped and anticipated, and that has a real knock-on effect in terms of the ability to organise guests and entertainment and such like that. So there's going to be a bit more of a push about that as we move forward. So prepare to see your inbox being hit with those sorts of things. The room bookings are out for sale, the tickets are out for sale. We've confirmed all the pricing and such like that before, so if you are holding off, please don't hold off for too much longer, because it's giving me a bit of heartburn. I don't mind admitting that, and there'll be a wee bit more about that as we move forward there. In terms of other business, I did say we had a Rangers meeting last week. We actually didn't. The meeting schedule had actually finished the week before, I guess the 2 weeks before it, and we've got a new meeting cadence scheduled up from January to convention time as well, so there was no meeting to report on for the second week in a row. In terms of communications, there was no Gers guide out by the time I started recording, which I thought last week was just because of the cup final, but this week, no idea, so I'm just going to make it up again. I imagine there will be an Inside Ibrox today and some coverage of the women's team result and performance and game, I should say, from yesterday. Tomorrow I imagine it'll be the press conference for the St Mirren game, and usually they do the loan review on a Tuesday, so I imagine that's there. Wednesday's Christmas Day, of course. Thursday's the St Mirren game, and Friday probably the press conference for the Motherwell game. Not too much on Saturday. Motherwell game on Saturday, then all eyes look towards us being at home to that mob. Other communication work, you probably did see the interview, or maybe read about the interview that our new CEO Patrick Stewart did on Rangers TV. It was good to see him. It was good to hear his voice. There was not too much shared. There was nothing really revelationary about what he had shared. He did confirm what we already knew, is that he had reached out to the SFA or SPFL, I can't remember exactly who it was, to talk about the refereeing. I really felt that last week was such a great opportunity for the new chairman and the new CEO to come out and basically lay down a marker to say this stops now. We have a catalogue of, what do you call it, innocent mistakes that have been made over the last few years against that mob, and it's cost us a couple of League Cups at least, and they had an opportunity to come out with all guns blazing and decided not to do that. And I think that's too bad, not from posturing, not to act, not to try and placate us as a fan base, but really just to set down a marker with all the authorities to say, all we've ever wanted is an even playing field and a level playing field, and we're not getting that right now, and that's not good enough. So what are you going to do about it? And consistently, constantly call it out. He didn't do that. He certainly didn't do that publicly anyway, but good to hear from him, and we'll see what comes of him as we move forward. Reminder about the annual Burns Supper celebration on the 24th of January and the International Coaching Convention, which happens on the 3rd to the 6th of April. Links will be on the show notes for that. All right, my folks, all right, my friends even, what about that? That will do it for this week, and as always, thanks very much for taking the time to listen in, and please do share it with someone that you think might enjoy it. This is the last week before Christmas, so I'm going to take this opportunity to wish each and every one of you and yours a very, very Merry Christmas. Thank you very much for all of your help and support of NARSA over this year. I'll talk a wee bit more about the year in summary on next week's pod, just before New Year. But Merry Christmas. I hope you get exactly what you're hoping for Christmas, which for me is 6 points in the next 2 games, to see what happens in 2025 and beyond. And until next week, my friends, please do take care of yourself. Have a very, very Merry Christmas and all the very best, okay? Follow.